Joining me now is media writer at the Australian newspaper, Sophie Elsworth, and Executive Director of the Institute of Public Affairs, Scott Hargraves. Welcome, Scott and Sophie. Now, Sophie, you have some breaking news for us. Amid all the financial uncertainty and rate rise pressures and inflation and everything else, there's one group that's getting a pay rise. Who is it, Soph?
That's right, James. So just breaking in the last hour, staff at SBS, so the publicly funded broadcaster, have just received a 9.5% pay rise over the next 3 years. And James, this comes just a couple of weeks after the ABC staff received an 11% pay rise. So 9.5%, it's a 4%, 3% and 2.5% rise over the next 3 years. It's good if you can get it, and if you work at a public broadcaster, you're going to see your wages go up.
Wow, that is just shocking that the ABC and SBS, where they don't have to compete in the commercial marketplace for advertising or viewers, they're just getting a raise. Well, good for them. As you say, nice work if you can get it. But I'm glad you mentioned the ABC, Sophie, because there's some other troubles for them. The Australian Monarchist League has called for the ABC to offer an apology and also launch an inquiry into their coverage of the coronation, which has been discussed all across this network, has frankly been completely disgraceful, was completely disgraceful. Now, Sophie, I'm going to ask you again, sorry, what did you make of the coronation coverage, just briefly, so we can get up to date with your thoughts?
So, James, I was watching it live on Saturday night. I sat there and I was prepared for a great evening. And lo and behold, the ABC turned it into a slinging match on the monarchy. It was basically a hate fest of Britain. And it was all people on there that are pro-voice campaigners. So it was very lopsided coverage. And you can only tell, James, by the way people reacted. Social media was inundated. Their talkback radio shows were inundated. The ABC have stood by this coverage. It's nothing short of disgraceful. They set out not to cover the coronation. They set out to back their political views and push their agendas and basically shame Australia for some wrongs that have definitely happened in this country. So the national broadcaster has a lot to answer for, but as usual, James, they have stood by their coverage.
And Scott, doesn't the ABC have a well-staffed editorial policies division to, keep an eye on this type of bias? Where do they keep going wrong with this?
Well, I think the institutional bias is just way too entrenched. I mean, it has been described as a green left workers collective, and this is what we see. And in this case particularly, I think it's a bit of a square up. That's my reading. The ABC's coverage of the funeral of Her Late Majesty, I think, was quite respectful. And that actually led to a huge backlash by Stan Grant and others. And clearly they put their foot down and said that this time they were going to ensure the maximum amount of disrespect towards the monarchy, our constitutional system of government, and take every opportunity to promote ABC's pet causes like The Voice and reparations and all kinds of other things. It was almost unwatchable, actually, I must say, James.